On the evening of August 12, 1985, a Boeing 747, carrying 524 people, lifted off from Tokyo's Haneda Airport, bound for Osaka. 12 minutes later, at 24,000 feet and 300 knots, something inside the aircraft failed catastrophically. What happened next would become the deadliest single aircraft accident in history. 520 people lost, and it would expose a repair flaw that had been hiding in plain sight for 7 years. Flight 123 departed 12 minutes behind schedule. Captain Masami Takahama, 49 years old, with 12,400 flight hours, commanded a near-full cabin. The aircraft was configured for Japan's domestic routes, a high-density configuration that meant 509 passengers, plus 15 crew members, ascending through the early evening air. By all measures, it was a routine flight. The systems were functioning. The weather was clear. No one on that aircraft had any reason to suspect what was already happening inside the fuselage. Approximately 12 minutes after takeoff, the cockpit voice recorder captured a sound that would define the final moments of this flight. A violent bang, followed by vibration and an immediate cabin decompression. In that instant, the aircraft's aft pressure bulkhead, a critical structural component that separates the pressurized cabin from the unpressurized tail section, ruptured completely. The pressure surge that followed was catastrophic. The vertical stabilizer was torn away. The auxiliary power unit was destroyed, and all 4 of the aircraft's hydraulic systems were severed, leaving the crew with an aircraft they could no longer control. 46 seconds after decompression, Captain Takahama signaled an emergency on the transponder and requested an immediate return to Tokyo. The aircraft was now in a condition known as Dutch roll, a wild oscillation from side to side, and it was only losing altitude. At the outset, the engines were still producing thrust, but without hydraulic pressure, the flight control surfaces were frozen. The crew faced an impossible task: keep a 4-engine jet aircraft in the air, using nothing but engine power alone. For the next 32 minutes, Captain Takahama and his crew fought to keep that aircraft flying. They descended from 24,000 feet, and for a time, they regained some control authority by using differential engine thrust, running the engines at unequal power to steer. The aircraft climbed and fell in phugoid cycles, oscillating up and down in ways that defied normal flight physics. They managed to descend to lower altitudes and report that the aircraft was uncontrollable, then climbed again briefly before descending once more. But with each oscillation, they were losing energy, losing altitude, losing time. After fighting an uncontrollable machine for approximately half an hour, the aircraft disappeared from radar at 6,800 feet. It had descended toward the Pacific, briefly turned back toward land, and then descended again into the mountains north of Tokyo. The Boeing 747 impacted terrain near Mount Takamagahara in Ueno, Tano District, Gunma Prefecture, roughly 100 kilometers from where it had taken off. The impact was catastrophic. Of the 524 people on board, 520 would not survive the night. The investigation that followed revealed the truth. This disaster had been waiting to happen for 7 years. In June 1978, Flight 123's aircraft, registration JA819, had experienced a severe tail strike during landing at Osaka. The impact damaged the aft pressure bulkhead critically. When the aircraft was repaired, a decision was made by Boeing technicians that would doom thousands of people. Instead of following approved repair procedures, a faulty method was used that installed a single row of rivets where the specification called for more. This improvised repair reduced the structural strength of that bulkhead by approximately 70%. Over the next 7 years, JA819 flew continuously on domestic Japanese routes. Each takeoff and landing, each pressurization cycle, stressed that already weakened bulkhead. The aircraft accumulated thousands of flights after the repair. Metal doesn't forget. Fatigue cracks propagated through the repair zone, invisible on routine visual inspections, growing with each cycle. When the Aircraft Accident Investigation Commission of Japan released its final report on June 19, 1987, the conclusion was unambiguous. The improper repair was the primary cause. The bulkhead had finally failed under normal flight stresses. The crash triggered immediate global action. Within weeks and months, the FAA and aviation authorities worldwide issued a cascade of airworthiness directives. AD 85-2212 mandated visual inspection of aft pressure bulkheads on all Boeing 747s. AD 860802 required structural covers to protect vertical fin integrity. AD 871204 mandated hydraulic fuses to prevent total system loss. AD 872310 required detailed cracking inspections. The regulatory response was comprehensive: empennage design changes, hydraulic system redundancy improvements, enhanced technician training, and revised maintenance protocols that emphasized fatigue analysis and adherence to manufacturer specifications. Japan Airlines Flight 123 remains the deadliest single aircraft accident in history. A small number of survivors, all seated at the very front of the aircraft, were rescued hours after the crash, but 520 people did not. They died because of a single decision made in 1978 to cut corners on a repair. Their names, their families, and the lessons learned from their loss changed aviation maintenance forever. Today, every inspection protocol, every rivet specification, every fatigue analysis in commercial aviation carries the weight of that one August evening. The hidden crack that should never have been allowed to grow reminded the entire industry that in aviation, there are no small shortcuts.